Reverend Crystal Cox here. I want to talk to you about the 128 hertz tuning fork. Some things I've experienced, things I've learned. I'm going to read you some notes and anyway, just visit with you about 128 hertz tuning fork, weighted tuning fork. Did that sound official? Okay. Okay. So, this is really cool. Okay, so headaches. So if you have a headache, the 128 is really good. Now, migraines are migraines, and they're kind of internal. Okay, regular headaches are kind of external, to simplify it. So do the 128 tuning fork, and I use the hockey puck. So you hit it on the side here, and then you take if you have a rubber ball in the end, take that off, or any sort of crystal footing or stainless steel footing. Take the footing off so that you just have the raw end. Well, I'll show you. This one isn't a 128, but you take it off so that you have this for the most amount of vibration. Okay? This isn't a 128, but I'm going to use it as an example. This is a 528, in case you wanted to know. So, okay, so you have the weighted 128, and you bang it on the hockey puck, and you hold the stem, or you can hold it right here in this part. You don't want to hold it up here, or it'll stop the action jackson. So you take the 128 with no bottom, and you put it on where your head hurts. So right where the spot where it hurts, okay? And so I just do it all over the head and in the back, in this little divot. And then do it on top of your head. Okay, now this releases fluid pressure buildup, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So those are the points. Okay, so headache. So your temples, both sides of your temples, there's plasma movement in your brain. There's layers of fluid that build up over years, okay? Prescription drugs cause it, stress, anxiety. There's all kinds of things that cause it. Our memories, our childhood traumas. It's kind of a protection it's okay. It doesn't matter what causes it. It's there, it builds up. So say there's like paper, okay? Say there's like in between each layer of paper, there's plasma fluid buildup, right? So we don't know this. I had no idea that was a thing. In 2018, I had gained quite a bit of weight that year before, and my head was really big, and I thought it was because I gained weight. Like my head, I didn't really notice it until, sometimes you don't notice something until it's not there, right? Like, oh my gosh, my foot stopped hurting, right? You don't even notice that it maybe hurt because you get used to it. I didn't know that my big head wasn't just my ego, Anyway, so I got into dry fasting that next year, and my head was smaller. But I'd lost quite a bit of weight, but I also lost water. I lost inflammation, and apparently plasma. It should come out. It could come out in vomit. It could come out in, either end. It could come out in your urine. It just kind of keeps coming out. And some folks, it might even drain out your ears or into your, nasal, and you might be spitting some out or whatever. I know it's gross, but during that first dry fast, I had quite a bit of white plaque that I'd spit up. And so obviously layers and layers coming in different places in my body, coming out. And so this was fascinating to me to learn about the fascia, FASCIA, and tuning forks. Google that, really good information. And the NEHCacademy.com. They have a lot of really good videos on tuning forks. And I think they have a free certification on their website. Okay, so I'm not affiliated, nor do I make any money from the profit of the blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you put it on the spot for the pain. Okay, so that's the one thing. But all these spots will assist to release the pressure buildup in your head. Now, why doesn't your body naturally do it? I don't know, because it's waiting for a trauma. Okay, it's this fluid's building up to assist you it's weird, but it's about emotional. I'm going to get into that next. Your behavior, your motor skills, your speech. There's a lot of stuff associated with it. And trauma, post-traumatic stress, anxiety, you just get more and more fluid buildup. So yes, I got the fluid buildup because of weight gain. It came along with that a little bit, but mostly it was post-traumatic stress, anxiety, things that kind of kept happening, and maybe things I wasn't expressing or whatever. It was kind of like creating protective barriers against false enemies, right? And my head was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I didn't notice it. Now, I knew somebody decades ago that needed a kidney transplant, and he had a really big head. And after his kidney transplant, his head was normal sized. And so now, I think my head's normal sized. But if you look at pictures of me from a few years ago, you can see that my head's quite a bit larger. And of course, the skull has just a zillion bones that kind of give, right? So it can get bigger and bigger. So it's plasma movement. Okay, so fluid builds up in the head. Okay, and it doesn't leave. Like, natural process, you would think it would leave, but because of stress and trauma and anxiety, it stays there, some sort of a protection mechanism, but it's sort of a malfunction because of stress and trauma. Okay, so the fluid buildup in the head, and it causes men to bald, okay? It causes female balding too, pressure that builds up in the head. It could be from vaccines as a childhood, stress as a child, prescription drugs, overuse of antibiotics. It could be a head injury at some point in your life. There could be nerves that aren't really connecting right. There can be a lot of reasons why this fluid is building up in the head. And it, interestingly enough, like I said, balding, female and male balding, is one sign of that fluid buildup, which is just fascinating to me. Okay, and so the, again, this is not the 128, but a weighted 128, with the weights on the end. I have some in the back, but I have like 4 in here because I like to give them away to people because they really make a big difference in a lot of things. So the 128's the one that I bring as like I'm the 128 Hertz tuning fork Santa Claus, because I think it helps to raise part of my mission in raising the vibration of Mother Earth and her people. Literally, the vibration, the frequency. Anyway, again, it's not a 128. So these spots up here, and doing it on your crown releases the fluid in your head. Okay, and then of course you do all your spots, do the pain of your headache or whatever, but doing all these spots. And then of course the lymphs, here a lymph, there a lymph, everywhere a lymph glands, and then you just kind of bring it down. You bring the lymphs. When you have like jowl stuff, that's lymphs. People that have the big things under here, their neck, that's lymph and fluid buildup in the head. And so you bring this down, you bring it down, and bring it down, and then you do this spot often. Okay, the weighted tuning fork, it comes out of the end, right? And you don't want a rubber ball or anything on it for this one. And you put it right in here to drain the fluids, draining your lymphs. Okay, you have big lymph glands, obviously, in your armpits. You have lymph glands in, I call them the connector rods, which is where your leg connects to your hips. Okay, so, right, so you got fluid pockets all over in your head. It's plasma buildup. I just find this fascinating. And so it gives you a headache. It presses against your pain receptors. So you have, it might, affecting your eyesight, a different kind of pressures affecting sinus stuff, affecting allergies, affecting your teeth, and mental stuff, which we're going to talk about next, because I used to have so much brain fog. Like I'd be like, and people are like, oh, I need coffee to get rid of the brain fog or whatever so they can have adrenaline. And, but in, when was this? Probably 2017 or something. You think my nose would fit through there? Oh, I started doing Rife for Candida. So RIFE, which is frequency healing. And I started tons of parasites going. And so I did a lot of release at that time. And it gave me symptoms of a cold. I went on a plane trip just after that. I thought my sinuses would just blow. Oh my God, it hurt so bad. And so I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, so, right. So candida overload is a big deal. So I did Rife for candida. I had already backed off a bunch of stuff. I forget the point of that. Double darn. Oh, well, another day. So fluid pockets in your head can give you a headache. It can also cause other things in the body, other pains all over the body. So, yeah. Okay, right. Before I dry fasted, my head being that big, after I dry fasted, I was like, wow, right? So the fluid buildup, it literally used some of the plasma or the liquid in my head as water, right? And what I love about dry fasting is that it kills off old cells so new stem cells can grow, and you're all brand new. I mean, we're all brand new every 7 years anyway. But it's just fascinating to me. And this was a few years before I learned about tuning forks. And so I dry fasted, like I did, 12-hour ones, 16 hours, lots of different 20 ones, 20 hours. And I did it for on and off for months. And then I just didn't realize how much I needed to do it. And I'd never even heard of it. Spirit just prompted me to do it. And so, and I learned about it, and then I taught other people. And that's the same thing that happened with the tuning forks. Because I didn't really know that stuff either. And so the dry fasting, I didn't even notice the change in my head until later when I seen pictures and I went, whoa. My head was quite a bit bigger. So imagine, right? Your plasma on your head and your brain. Oh, I know what I was going to say earlier about the candida. Brain fog. So when I did Rife candida, the brain fog went away. Okay. But I'd still have something I call brain fog, and then adrenaline coffee would make it go away. Okay. But then when I did dry fasting, boom, ding, gone. No more brain fog, because it killed off the parasites in my brain. And that's what I thought. But what it also did was drained the fluid, the excess plasma fluid from my brain. The body used it as water to hydrate itself. And it opened up channels, and then new stem cells grew, and it just kind of reset everything. And like I said, it was pretty dramatic to me, and the head will expand and expand and expand because there's all kinds of little movable parts in the skull. But when you get that fluid, you have a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, because you're literally not thinking clearly because you have so much pressure in your head and you don't even know. Right. And sometimes people are used to chronic headaches or neck aches or, stuff in the spine or whatever. And this is all fluid buildup. And I really didn't know that was a thing. Right. I thought, okay, well, so and you'd think it would just constantly naturally move out of your body. But when you're under constant post-traumatic stress type stuff, it doesn't do that. It doesn't naturally leave your body. It needs help. It needs a different frequency. It needs something dramatic like a reset. And dry fasting does that as well. Okay, so, right, it brings pain in the body. Bags of fluid that build up, and you make sure you take the ball end off. Okay. It resets and recalibrates the brain and the body. Okay, so this fluid buildup affects your thought process, your memory, your behavior. Okay, because you have predictive coding of your brain, and the fluid has like the electrons or whatever, the data, okay, to tell you about predictive coding of the brain. Okay, so I'm going along, and I see a car, or I see what, so say I expect the car to go a certain way. So I go out on the road and it doesn't, and it hits me. Okay, that's kind of a dramatic way, but that's the stress of it. So my mind, because of past traumas, past programs, past experiences, past lives, my DNA, my mind thinks that if something's going to happen a certain way. And that's predictive coding of the brain. So your brain thinks it's going to happen a certain way. Okay, but when you sense the environment, so you're like, oh, well, I see that the car's coming towards me. Obviously that's just a crude example. So I can sense what's the truth or what's in my reality. So it's kind of like false fear of something that's not there, right? But my body's freaking out and sending signals to my brain that I need to take a certain action, but my senses are telling me different. So they're at odds. So trauma, post-traumatic stress, all involved in this programs. And the fluid keeps building up with that because your predictive coding, in other words, your habits, your programs, your trauma-based response is at odds with what you're sensing in your reality. Okay, so your habitual neural pathways. Okay, and so we create new patterns. We have